What if I told you that the 10-year wait for the ultimate pocket camera is finally over? Welcome back to TechVibe, the place where we pull back the curtain on the gear that actually defines the industry. Today, we are diving deep into a legend reborn. For over a decade, the Sony RX1R II sat on a throne that no one dared to challenge, a full-frame beast that could literally disappear into your jacket pocket. But the world of photography has shifted. The competition has grown teeth. And today, Sony has finally answered our prayers with the long-awaited Sony RX1R III. This isn't just a minor refresh, this is a total architectural overhaul that brings the power of the flagship A7R V into a chassis you can carry to a high-end dinner. If you're a street photographer, a luxury tech enthusiast, or someone who simply refuses to compromise on image quality while traveling the globe, you need to stay tuned until the very end of this video. We're going to break down why this camera is causing a massive divide in the photography community, the hidden Leica Killer features, and the one specific hardware omission that has some professionals absolutely furious. This is the Sony RX1R III, and it might just be the last camera you ever need to buy. To understand why the RX1R III is such a monumental release, we have to look at the lineage. The RX1 series has always been an enigma. It's for the purists. It's for those who believe that a fixed 35mm lens is the only true way to see the world. For years, the Mark II was the gold standard, but it was aging. The autofocus was falling behind, the battery life was legendary for all the wrong reasons, and the menus felt like navigating a labyrinth from 2015. With the Mark III, Sony hasn't just updated the specs, they've reimagined what a compact luxury camera should be in 2026. Let's start with the heart of the beast, the sensor. Under the hood, we are looking at the absolute pinnacle of Sony's imaging technology. We're talking about the 61-megapixel XMR BSI CMOS sensor. This is the exact same high-resolution monster found in the A7R V and the ultra-compact A7R. Think about that for a moment. You are getting medium format levels of detail, dynamic range, and tonal depth in a camera body that weighs just about 1 pound. Whether you are capturing the neon-drenched side streets of Shinjuku or the sweeping, textured landscapes of the Icelandic highlands, the level of croppability here is staggering. You could take a wide environmental portrait in crop and 200% to a headshot, and you would still have more resolution and clarity than most professional cameras on the market today. This sensor doesn't just capture images, it captures data that allows you to reinvent your composition long after the shutter has clicked. But a world-class sensor is useless without world-class glass. This is where Sony made a very conscious, and somewhat controversial, decision. They decided to stick with the legendary Zeiss T*35mm f/2 lens. Now, before the gearheads start complaining that it's old glass, you have to understand the engineering at play here. This lens was built to be optically perfect for this specific sensor-to-flange distance. Sony's engineers actually tuned the lens to the sensor at a micron level during the manufacturing process. The result? A corner-to-corner sharpness that is frankly terrifying. And for those of you who love the intimate, close-up look, the dedicated macro ring returns. It allows you to focus as close as 20 centimeters, giving you that creamy, Zeiss-style bokeh that has a specific soul or 3D pop, something that is often missing in modern, overly clinical lenses. It's the perfect marriage of vintage character and modern resolution. Now, let's talk about the real game-changer, the brain of the operation. The RX1R III finally ditches the aging processors of the past for the new Bionz XR engine and, more importantly, a dedicated AI processing unit. This is where the Mark III leaves its predecessor and most of its competition in the dust. The autofocus isn't just fast, it's predictive. It uses human pose estimation to recognize not just eyes or faces, but the entire skeletal structure of the human body. Even if your subject turns their back, walks behind a crowded bus stop, or is wearing a mask or helmet, the camera stays glued to them. It tracks birds, insects, cars, and even airplanes with a level of tenacity that makes street photography feel like you're playing on easy mode. You no longer have to worry about missing the decisive moment because the autofocus was hunting in low light. If you can see it, the RX1R III has already locked onto it before you've even fully pressed the shutter. But here is where things get really interesting for our premium audience who might be used to carrying multiple lenses. Sony knows that a fixed 35mm lens can be limiting. To solve this, they've introduced an intelligent step crop feature. With a single custom button press, you can instantly jump to a 50mm equivalent or a 70mm equivalent. Because you have a massive 61 megapixel canvas to start with, even at the 70mm crop, you are still pulling a 15 megapixel file. That is more than enough for a gallery quality high resolution print or a stunning digital spread. It essentially gives you three of the most popular prime lenses in history, the 35, the 50, and the 70, all housed within a single, tiny chassis. From a design perspective, Sony has leaned into what they call a monolithic aesthetic. The top plate is now completely flat, with the manual dials for exposure compensation and aperture feeling more tactile and mechanical than ever. The body is carved out of a single block of magnesium alloy, making it feel dense, expensive, and incredibly robust. But there's a catch, and it's the one thing that has the internet divided. Sony decided to make the rear 3-inch touchscreen LCD completely fixed. No tilt, no flip. They claim this was a necessary sacrifice to keep the body as slim as possible and to maintain weather sealing integrity. But in 2026, on a $5,000 camera, is a fixed screen acceptable? For some, it's a deal-breaker. For the purists, it's a return to form that encourages using the high-resolution pop-up electronic viewfinder, which has also been upgraded to a stunning 9.44 million OLED panel. Looking through that EVF feels like looking through a window into another world. For the hybrid creators watching this, don't let the stills first marketing fool you. This is a serious video tool. We're talking 4K at 60p in 10-bit 4:2:2, with S-Cinetone and S-Log3 built in. While it's not an A1 in terms of thermal management, for high-end travel vlogs, cinematic B-roll, or behind-the-scenes content, it's incredible. The inclusion of creative looks means you can get that filmic, nostalgic look straight out of the camera, saving you hours in the editing suite. We also have to address the hidden upgrade, the battery. The Mark II was notorious for having a battery life that lasted about as long as a New York minute. Sony has finally moved to the NP-FZ100 style battery architecture. While they had to slightly widen the grip to accommodate it, the trade-off is 100% worth it. You're now looking at over 500 shots per charge, and with USB-C PD fast charging, you can top it off from a power bank while you're having coffee between shoots. It's finally a camera you can take out for a full day of professional work without carrying a backpack full of spares. So, who is this camera for? At a projected price point of roughly $5,200, the Sony RX1R III is a statement. It sits in that rarefied air where it competes directly with the Leica Q3. It's for the photographer who values the tactile experience of shooting just as much as the final image. It's for the executive, the traveler, and the artist who wants the best possible image quality in the smallest possible package and is willing to pay for that level of precision engineering. It is a piece of high-end technology that doubles as a work of art. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Is the fixed screen a deal breaker for your workflow, or do you appreciate Sony's commitment to the smallest form factor possible? And does that 61 megapixel sensor justify the premium price tag over something like the A7R? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know if you think Sony has finally dethroned Leica in the fixed lens department. If you found this deep dive helpful and want to stay ahead of the curve on luxury tech, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Here at TechVibe, we don't just talk about specs, we talk about how this gear actually changes the way you create. We have some incredible real-world street photography samples from the RX1R III coming up in our next video, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still hungry for more tech insights, check out our recent comparison between the Sony Alpha series and the new Hasselblad medium format systems right here on the screen. It's a fascinating look at where the industry is headed. Until next time, this is TechVibe. Stay creative, stay inspired, and I will see you in the next one. Keep shooting, keep exploring, and remember, the best camera is the one that makes you want to go outside. Signing off.